Heart to Heart is where real stories meet real connection. Hosted by Christy Diaz, founder of Heartful Living. This podcast opens the door to honest, unfiltered conversations about life's most meaningful and sometimes messy chapters. From personal journeys of resilience and healing to experiences with love, loss, family, and finding purpose, Heart to Heart is a space for the stories that deserve to be heard. Every episode is rooted in authenticity, empathy, and the belief that when we share our stories, we remind each other we're not alone. Join the conversation because the best talks always come from the heart. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Heart to Heart podcast. I'm Christy Diaz, and we are navigating conversations and stories of authenticity and joy. And I am so excited today because I have my comadres, my ride or dies, in the studio today, Magda and Melissa. Hello, ladies.
Hello. Hi. Love that intro.
This is super overdue because you guys have the craziest schedules. I think we marked this in the calendar back in August. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
These are my ride or dies. These are my besties. These are the ones that are my keeper of secrets and the godmothers to my children. And I love the fact that our friendship spans over, I'm not even going to say how many years. Well, no. I am, like 30 years. So thank you guys for being here today. You guys are my inspiration. Every story I tell is with all my friends always in mind. I am so lucky that I have the tribe that I have. And you guys amaze me every day. You guys inspire me.
Oh,
so
you're going to get emotional just with that introduction.
Let's start by you guys introducing yourselves. Melissa?
Sure. So I'm Melissa Berthier. I am a mom of two teens. Thank you for being the absolute best godmother ever. And I'm also a wife, and I'm also the director of marketing and communications for a global destination here in South Florida that is also my home.
And I'm Magda Rodríguez Brenner. I am the mom of two as well, 10 and 6, boy and girl. I am a healthcare partner at an AmLaw 200 firm in Miami. And I am also a wife and longtime friend of both of you. And I'm really happy to be here.
I told you guys that they were badasses. So I want to discuss career moms and their evolution today because you guys make it look so easy. I don't know how you guys do it.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
You know, what's that saying that they say, Magda, that it's fake it till you make it?
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Fake it till you make it. And I just so happened to have Susie Bernal.
Yeah.
In the studio the other day. I still call her Susie, even though she professionally goes by Suzanne now. And I go, you make it look so easy. And she said the same thing. Mm-hmm. So guys, fake it till you make it.
Right.
But I remember way back when always being in awe by you guys because you guys are the product of career moms. Your mom was a doctor. Your mom was a doctor. Mm-hmm. And so I want to talk about how that's evolved from their generation and how you're doing things differently, how you guys are doing things the same, what you do that is like your mom, what your moms would think about that today. Because in 30 years, the world is moving so fast. It's so different. And motherhood has changed. It's constantly evolving based on our surroundings and our community and what we've learned and what we've seen. So I want to jump right in. And I want to start by asking you guys, to take us back to your early career days before you guys were moms, right? What were your dreams then, and how have they evolved now that you are mothers of teenagers and, full-blown children? Go ahead, Melissa, you first.
Wow. How far back am I taking you back?
Let's go back to, let's start by saying you went to school in college. It's funny because we had gentlemen here yesterday. We had Peppy, we had Ryan, we had Danny, and we touched on what is so uniquely Miami. That is, where did you go to school?
Everybody says high school.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everybody says high school.
So let's go back to where you went to college. You were in D.C.
Right. I went to college in D.C., and I fast-tracked it. I did college in 2.5 years, and because I wanted to work. I was really excited to jump into the workforce.
So go back to that moment.
Sure. So I studied international affairs and global public health. My mother was very confused by what, my career was going to be, even to the point of like, are you going to be stamping passports? Like, what exactly do you do with that? And I really loved the public health side of it. I imagined myself at that time, 18, 19, 20, when I finally graduated, working for the Peace Corps, going, around the world, working with refugees, internally displaced people.
Are we going to tell the story? Are we going to tell the story?
Oh, I don't
It's
know
up
what
to
story.
You know which one. You know which
I know
one.
which one. You know which
Magda,
one.
go ahead. What's the
No,
story?
I'm not going to do that to
We
her.
touch on the
She
Peace
can
Corps.
decide.
This girl, when she was 17 years old, which in today's world, I don't know that I could do it, she told everybody that she was going to go to Africa. And she did at 17. Was it the Peace Corps?
It was not. It was I was 17, but I did have to fib about my age on the application. Thankfully, my mom was a working mom, so I had to fill out my own applications. But it was an organization that brought me to Tanzania, and spent a summer there, and it was really just incredible to be in villages, to work with people, both on the education side and also on the medical side. So that's why I think I ended up studying what I did.
Right.
But I did quickly realize that it'd be really hard, and people do it, and hats off to them, to be
Yeah.
a mom and to have children with that type of lifestyle. So I think I just naturally pivoted and didn't end up at the Peace Corps, but I do bring a lot of public health knowledge in what I do today, which is nothing to do with public health. And that's still very much a part of me.
So you had a shift in mind saying, okay, this is what I want to do, but realistically, I want to be a mom and a wife, and there's just not enough room at the end to do it all.
There's not exactly. That's exactly right. Not many hours in the day, and I got married very young.
Yes.
I think I probably was the first, right, out of the bunch.
Daniela was the first, yeah.
And had kids really young in my
Right.
20s, and thank God, because I felt like I really needed to have energy. But I never stopped working. And I think, to have a career and to kind of climb that corporate ladder, that was important.
Right.
And there's sacrifices that came with that, but I wouldn't have had it any other way.
We're so excited to be partnering with Harbin House. Right now, you can take 20% off your skincare favorites with the code HEARTFUL20. I also had the chance to join Courtney on the Beauty Formula podcast to talk about beauty, intention, and living fully. You can listen on all major streaming apps. Don't miss it, and don't forget your code HEARTFUL20 for 20% off at Harbin House.
How about you, Magda?
Um,
Take us back to graduation day where you're like, okay, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to be an attorney. Did you have that same feeling in your head? I need to make sure that
not quite.
okay.
So I kind of decided what I wanted to do, even though it evolved and kind of took a different direction. But I kind of always assumed I would be a mom, and I would just kind of fold it into my life, right? It just, yeah, without really taking into account how difficult that balance would be.
What do you remember most about watching your mom balance career and family life? Because your mom was a
Yeah.
professional gastroenterologist.
Yep.
Badass also.
Yeah,
You
very
know,
much so. She was
badasses
one of the
produce
first
badasses.
women gastroenterologists in South Florida.
Right.
She was in a male-dominated field. It was always kind of a battle for her, but she did it seamlessly, I will say. What I do remember about her, the balance, right, is, oftentimes she would take off and she would meet me at a recital, or she would go to a game, or she would go whatever it may have been. And I kind of always knew in the back of my head, though I never vocalized it, that would require her to go back to the hospital and go finish her rounds. And she never communicated that to me. I just kind of saw it, right? So I almost felt bad, but I never really asked her to come. She would just kind of show up. She would show up to support. She would show up because she didn't want to miss it. And that was her balance at the time, but I knew as a child, from a children's perspective, I knew that meant she would have to go back and do more work,
Right.
and so then I wasn't going to see her really until the next morning, for example.
Yeah. And you had your grandma living with you.
I did.
Who did a lot of
So,
child rearing
yeah,
too.
Yeah, and so my grandmother lived with us, and she had her own apartment, but she spent a lot of time with us. She would pick us up from school, and she would help us with homework, and my grandma was a brilliant person, really. She was also an attorney. I just think that she was definitely the support system that my mom needed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she definitely assisted and allowed my mother to be both mother and physician.
Yeah, if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all need that kind of support.
You know, the common thread I have is always it takes a village, as I always tell you guys. This is my tribe, as I always say it. I had the honor and the pleasure of being at the America Business Forum earlier this week. And the head of WeWork and Flow was there, Adam Newman. And him and his wife, Rebecca, have 6 children. The fact that they have 6 children, I'm in awe to begin with.
Right.
He said that the secret sauce in Miami is community.
Yes.
Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree
Oh,
wholeheartedly.
100%.
Yeah.
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 Do you think that that's having lived you specifically in Washington, Melissa? Do you see that as something that is very unique to Miami, or did you see it outside of Miami?
No, I think I saw it outside of Miami for sure. I feel like in Miami, and especially kind of, our friends, you have that extended family. We were a little different because, my parents came here in 1980 with not a soul in the United States.
Right.
So we didn't have that grandparent support system or the aunts. That's not something we grew up with. And we still have very little family. But now my parents have, 10 grandkids. And
I'm still in shock about that.
and a big reason I think that I moved is because, I was able to be closer to my sister who has 4 kids.
Right.
So that was a huge reason. And I loved DC. I loved our life. But I really just wanted to be closer to family and to have a little bit of that community and more of that tribe.
I'm so glad you did too, because she was gone too long.
I know.
I said I would never come back. So never say never.
Yeah, that's true.
So Melissa, your mom still is an amazing PCP, an amazing physician. What do you think has changed most for working moms between your mom's generation and today's?
So I think it depends on the career. So I think, there's a lot of options today to do remote jobs. And I'm not necessarily a fan of remote jobs, especially, when women are getting into their career in the 20s.
Right.
But I think for doctors, you have to be present, right? You have to go to the hospital. You have to see patients. And I think I chose a career that I'm able to balance. And I say that word, a little bit with a chuckle, because I think if you ask my staff, they laugh when, I'm always like, oh no, it's, so important to have balance. And they're like, do you have balance? And I feel like I do, because I can do a lot of my job outside of the physical office. But I think it depends on the career choice. And I think medicine is something that you do have to show up for. And there's a lot of jobs that you have to be physically present. And, that does take a toll on family lives.
I have here on my cards actually that we were going to debunk the myth of balance, right? Because it's something that we're always chasing, but never quite catch. Do you always feel like you are in that race of balance, or do you feel like you've achieved it thanks to technology today?
So I think that I think it's you're not necessarily chasing it. I think as a young mother, I thought that I was, I felt that struggle, like I was chasing it. And then you come to a point in your life where you've just accepted. You've accepted the fact that you're not always going to be able to balance it. And it's very hard for someone, especially someone like you, very type A, to accept. Look at you.
She looks at her.
Because you understand.
That's
for
funny.
someone who is type A to understand and let go of that sense of control, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you are going to show up to work and you are going to nail it. And that may mean or may not necessarily mean that you give a little less of yourself as a parent.
Right.
Okay, sometimes you have both of those and they're going strong, and sometimes they just don't. And you get home and you lose your temper and you feel
Right.
awful. But you have to, it's an acceptance.
Right.
And I think once you accept that you may not always be perfect at either one,
Right.
right, then you have a little bit more sense of inner peace.
But
as
don't you
both.
feel that comes with age?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It comes with
Yeah.
age. It comes with, the amount of energy I used to have versus the amount of energy I have now, the way I prioritize my life is completely different from when I was a young mother, right?
Right.
Even one kid to the next, I think everyone can agree that you don't necessarily raise your kids exactly the same way. Your first one, maybe you're like hovering over them or you're a little bit more concerned with things. By the second one, you've kind of realized you've prioritized or reprioritized. You realize what's important and what's not. maybe, what was important to you as a parent and what wasn't, necessarily that important that you obsessed about in the first one, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, you guys are all the youngest in your family. Yeah. So I feel like you, for example, the reason why you got on that plane at 17 to Africa is because you were the third one. And that was it. She was tired. Monse was tired.
You also gave off like angel vibes, and no one would have ever thought that you would have done
that
something
is
like
another
that.
conversation for another day, folks.
That's not going to be recorded.
We can have a whole other conversation.
This is a problem with knowing someone for too long.
Yeah, it is. That's why you guys are my keeper of secrets, and that's how we're going to keep it. So no, seriously though, that story of work and motherhood colliding. Do you have an example in your head, off the top of your head, of your mom where motherhood and career collided that you as a child saw?
I mean, I saw it every day, right?
Did you?
Because my mom, but it was something that I'm very proud of, and I was very proud of.
Yes.
Because, she'd come home, no HIPAA violations, but she would tell us about patient stories, right, or things that happened. And I really, when I'd go to Dadeland Mall back in the day, like Burdines, taking it back as we're original 305 folks, I couldn't take 2 steps without, a patient of my mom being like, Dr. Booya. And it was either a sales associate or somebody shopping, and then, sharing like, I'm so thankful for X, Y, and Z. So, I mean, I saw her balance it beautifully, and something that she really prioritized, both my parents, because both my parents were working parents, was making sure that we were going to have fabulous dinners, at night. And they're both incredible cooks, as you both know.
Yes.
And so that was really important and something that, that I prioritize. I'm always looking for 30-minute meals, especially during the week when things are so crazy with the sports and the school and, my schedule.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. And it's always advice that I give, new moms to really prioritize sitting down and kind of decompressing. And when they were little, I used to say to my kids, like, give me a report of the day.
Yeah.
And they would have to do it in little journalist ways, and they would say their names, and this was my day, and it was a good kind of icebreaker.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because your parents' love language to you was food and those meal times, and it still is.
Still is.
I'm thinking back to that moment of my mom when we were all growing up. And I'm sure you guys remember that on Mondays, my mom hosted an open house dinner for all of our friends to come. And the door was always unlocked. She would cook these extravagant, like, whole week load of food, because she would not cook over the weekend. So she would ramp up again on Monday. And people knew where to find the fold-out chairs, and they would just pile into the table. And that was my mom's love language also, to make sure that, everybody came to the table. And that's how she would check in on us. That's how she would know what was happening in our lives always. And I love that. And I'm trying to recreate that with my kids too. Do you have, off the top of your head, an idea of what your mom's love language was?
I think, for my mom, she always loved traveling, right?
Yes.
And so traveling for her was an opportunity to really, she would hand over her patients. They can't reach her. This is, back, before,
Back when you had beepers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And we would go overseas, and I think that was an opportunity for her to spend uninterrupted quality time with her family.
Absolutely. To this day, still.
To this day. And so I think that, she's always had a sense of adventure, and I think that coupled well with her opportunity to not only show us culture in the world, but also have uninterrupted time with us.
Right.
There was no phones ringing. There was no, night emergencies, things like that. So
you bring up a very interesting point in that back then, the only way that a patient or a client can reach somebody was through a landline.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Right?
I remember even when I wanted to go to my friend's house, I would call the hospital and page her over the loudspeaker, and she would answer the phone. I'm like, Mom, can I go to Melissa's house?
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? Yeah.
That
I was
the
actually
world we're
thinking about
living
that the other day. I'm like, I can't believe I had the guts to do something like that.
So now I think we may be working, depending on your career, we may be working more because of these devices.
That was my next question to you. who had the better end of the stick? Your mom back then when there was no technology, or you today that have the added advantage of having technology to access your child?
So I think it's trade-off, right? And I think it also depends on what you do. Doctors, I guess, kind of in their own worlds, I think they're a lot more accessible. So as an attorney, I'll say that I almost want to say that the legal industry was a little slow in catching up to the technology. There were lots of firms who had, laptops that you could take and you could work from home, but that really wasn't something people accepted until, practically until COVID, really, right? Like I remember right before I gave birth to my first child, I had really high blood pressure and my doctor was begging me, please, quit, start your maternity leave. And I said, no, I want as much time with my son as possible. So the law firm actually delivered me a laptop so I could work laying down. And that was like the last 3 days before I went to the hospital. Yeah.
I forgot that.
So it was just not something that was, really accepted at the time until COVID. And so now, now there's remote, and I'm starting to see news articles of trends that they're requiring people to come back 4 days instead of more of a hybrid schedule. So I think that technology is incredibly helpful. I think that it makes us more accessible. It has with it, clients, at least in the legal industry, clients have a higher expectation of you. I know that I work kind of strange hours. Sometimes I'll take off and then I'll log back on after my kids are sleeping. That's my trade-off, but I have the ability to do that. But I have to remind, for example, the associates that I work with, hey, I'm sending you emails at 10 o'clock at night. I have no expectation. Unless I say emergency, I have zero expectation that you're responding to me tonight, right?
I'm totally guilty of that. Yes. Yes. And I try to sometimes program messages because it'll be midnight and I'm like, okay, let me try to program this to 8 o'clock in the morning. But sometimes that's just more work. And I'm like, please just ignore it. Have your phones on silent. I will call you if there's an emergency.
Hi, this is Brianna, designer behind Brianna Handmade Jewelry. I'm so grateful to share my story with the Heartful Living community. As a thank you, I'd love to gift you an exclusive code. Use HEART15 at checkout for something special from my collection. From my heart to yours. Enjoy.
But there are those trade-offs, right? You're having your dinner, you're putting them to bed, and then you're going back to the office.
You're going back. And so your decision is you have to set your boundaries.
Right.
And so for the most part, my boundary is, once I get home, and this is kind of a sad reality, but once I get home, I really only have a couple hours with my kids. They're so young. They go to sleep early. And if they don't, they're very crabby in the morning. So I really only have maybe 2 hours. So I say, okay, in my mind, for the next 2 hours, my phone stays in my bag or my phone stays on my nightstand and I'm not looking at it.
Yeah.
And then after I'll look at it. And then at some point, you need to call it and you need to go to bed, right? And start all over again. The same thing I've heard other people, they wake up early. They'll wake up at 4 in the morning. They'll start working. And then that way they have, some attorneys bill hours. That's a measure of their productivity. Some attorneys are contingent, but for the most part, most of the attorneys will bill hours. And so you're putting in maybe 2 or 3 hours before the day gets started just to catch you up on what's to come.
Right. Do you guys think, true or false, women can have it all?
False. I mean, it depends on your expectation of what all means. You have to understand that it's not perfect.
Right.
So sure, I believe you can have a career and be an excellent parent. You just need to understand your trade-offs. You need to set your boundaries.
How about you? What do you
I
think,
agree with you. I
Melissa?
think it's more false, but I think, what is having it all?
Right.
Correct.
What does that mean? And I think it means a little, things are a little different for different responses. We probably have different responses.
Sure.
But, I think it's a balance, back to that word. But I think you can have, and it's all about being content, having heart full of living. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And I sleep really well at night.
Is that the perimenopause, or is that you're
Not
just
yet.
tired?
Oh my gosh, we're not there yet.
Speak for yourself.
Remember, I'm 2 years younger than you all.
No. So we're not going to throw Melissa under the bus, but she's managed to convince her husband that she's 2 years younger than all of us, despite the fact that we were all in the same grade.
Well, the cat was out of the bag when I moved back, but
Yes.
he conveniently forgot, and we kept it going. The joke. I remember we'd have candles at your house.
Yeah,
with,
she'd lie about her
The
age.
numbers, and you'd be like, "Well, we can't show the number."
This girl.
No, we're not there. No, but I think it's because I'm so active during the day, whether it be
Yeah.
at work with the kids, that
Yeah.
I really prioritize sleep. I prioritize sleep for my kids. I think it's so important. So I do fortunately sleep well, and I wish I could be one of those people that wake up at 4 a.m. So I'd rather be one of those people that go to sleep a little bit later, but can sleep in past 4 a.m. Are you that way? Do you wake up at 4 a.m.?
Oh, no, I don't. I
Okay.
don't. But there are times where the kids come in and then you just have to call it. Like you're trying to go back to bed, and then if you successfully go back to bed, then you're more tired when you wake up. So you just have to say, okay, you know
She's
what? Let
still
me
in
just be
the thick of it.
productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's still in the
so
thick
you
of
get
it.
up and you're more productive. Otherwise, you go to sleep. You wake up and you're dragging.
Yeah.
So no, thank you. Let's
Yeah.
get up. Let's do something, or I'll just sit there
Right.
But I won't be actively trying to go back to bed.
So you guys have brought so many of your mom's best characteristics to the table in terms of both of your parenting skills. Is there anything that you've done differently from your mom?
Yeah. I mean, not because I'm sure she didn't want to participate, but my mom just couldn't participate in school activities as much as she would like to, right? She wasn't, we call them now class coordinators, or she wasn't, on the PTA, things like that. I don't know that she wanted to be, frankly,
Right.
Right. But I kind of told myself when I had my children that I was going to try and make that a priority. Not the priority, but a priority. I wanted them to see me involved in school. I wanted to be more involved in their education. And so I have done that at my own pace. Sometimes, all in, sometimes half in.
Yeah.
But I did make that a priority for me.
Well, I think that you've also had the blessing and the curse of technology because you've got the WhatsApp groups today, you've got the websites, you've got a million chats going on and text messages. It's never been easier to get involved because it's in your face. Your mom
Yes.
did not have a group chat for a room parent.
Right.
She would actually have to show up and figure it out. Think about that.
Yeah.
Sign-ups were completely different back then.
Yeah. And one of the things I oftentimes think about is, we have all this technology to facilitate communication, right? To be more involved. But hasn't the expectation gone up more?
Oh, 100%.
Now that we have all these things at our fingertips, now that we have Amazon and we have this and the other, or these mega stores that you can go and pretty much find anything, the expectation has gone up.
Well, with the closing of Party City, have you guys noticed how hard it is to find all these last-minute costumes for like dress-up day at
Spirit
school?
Week. Oh my gosh.
It was terrible.
I know.
I'm in a different phase
Yeah.
with teenagers, and
Yeah.
they're not shopping in the Party City section, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be easier for you if they did. So it would be much easier and much longer, I think, their costumes.
Have you done anything differently from your mom, Melissa?
So I think in the same vein as Magda is, I did say to myself, okay, I'm definitely going to be present more in the classroom, but I think it's probably because, both our moms were physicians. And
Right.
so it's a different type of career, I think, that we chose.
Of course.
But like similar, I don't know if, my mom was necessarily going to be the room, wanted to
Right.
be the homeroom mom.
Right.
Well, you were also the third child. I think that the first child always you want to do it all, and then by the third, you're just tired. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, I think so.
With my second, I'm like, somebody else can go read the story. I've read a lot of stories. I'll do it every once in a while, but not every Friday.
Right. And then I think the trade-off is you oftentimes compare how you were as a parent with the first one to
yeah.
the second one. You're like, I did it for him. I have to do it for her. Right. I did
Right.
it with my first one. Now I feel like I need to do it with my second one. I can't really have them, your parenting style does change, right? But you can't,
course.
if I went and read, every Friday or whatever your case may have been.
Right.
And you're not doing it with the second one, doesn't it kind of weighs on you?
You know what it is? For example, with Danny, he was my first. He was my first everything. So if there was something to sign up for, I was there for it, which means I was there repetitively. I realized with Adriana that I didn't have to be there every single week, for her to get the same feeling that Danny got. Because it was what I put into it when I was actually there.
Right.
I think with Danny, I just thought that the presence of being there was enough. So I would turn my head upside down, figuring out crafts and projects, and I have to go to Pinterest and find like the turkey that we're going to produce, and I have to cut all the construction paper, and then I have to do it again for December for Christmas, and then I have to do it again for Valentine's Day. I realized that with Adriana, all I had to do was really devote like quality good time in one event instead of just 50. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. So I think it shifts with the second child.
Well, I was never a homeroom mom. I think I didn't want to be, but I did do like our school's PTA newsletter, and I made sure that I was involved in other ways.
You contributed in ways to show your strengths,
Right.
right?
Not making a turkey.
Not making
on
a
a door.
turkey. Right. Well, this
I'd bring
one,
turkey.
this one lately has been like blowing me away with her Pinterest abilities when she does crafts at school and she does trunk or treat. And I'm like, who is this person?
Yeah. I was, thank you, Cricket.
Thank you, Cricket.
I didn't know you had a cricket.
It has made me feel like I am capable of crafting.
Yeah,
So-
there you
You
go.
both
And
have
we
crickets.
also have
Yeah.
really crafty friends too, right?
So we
looking
have
at
to, not me.
Yes,
She's
you
taught
do.
Water bottles. I mean, I have a lot of things that are now have been
Well, I
crafted
just-
with initials of
Chris-
my children
yeah.
because
I
of you.
love to DIY.
Yeah.
That's always
Yeah.
been my favorite thing to do. But I think she's referring
And
to Luli.
but I
our
learned
friend
all of
Luli
that
Fernandez.
stuff, those DIY things from you. And then, but like just the crafting and the ideas. When I had to do the door, sometimes I would reach out to our friend Luli and I would say, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this super obscure theme, right? And she's like, well, why don't you do this? And 2 seconds, she had laid it out like on a, like a mock-up.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I mean, but she's a professional
she
artist.
is a professional, right?
Shout out to our
And
dear friend Luli
right.
Fernandez.
And I love that she shows up for the small things for us,
Yes.
But or I say like, can I paint this type of what kind of paint do I use to do this project?
You're listening to the Heart to Heart podcast with Christy Diaz for Heartful Living, where stories, connection, and intention guide everything we do. Interested in partnering with us? We're always open to collaborations that align with intention, creativity, and community. If you feel your brand is a match, we'd love to connect and explore what we can create together. And now back to listening.
Right. So what do your moms, when they see you guys parenting today, what do they say?
Ay, está tan cansada. You must be so tired. And I laugh because I'm like, that's what my grandmother used to tell my mom, you must be so tired. I feel like my mom actually has a unit in the same building that I live in, even though they still have their home back down south. So she does come probably like once a week, and it's incredible because they cook like fabulous meals, like sometimes 6-course meals it feels like. They take my kids to school the next day, and
Right.
it's incredible. And she's just like, don't pick up anything, go to bed, relax. And it's really incredible. And I wish they would move full time to our building.
Me too.
It's been 11 years since we've had the same unit, and they keep saying they're selling the house, so hopefully sometime soon. But my girls are very close to graduation. In a few years, they'll be flying the nest. But it's been incredible to at least have that, couple
Right.
days. Actually, they were here. They're still in my building now. And
Oh,
they were gonna
good.
be making arepas for my daughter this morning, so that's very sweet
And I
of
think
them.
part of the reason why she says, go to bed, because she's been there,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And she's trying to help in any way that she can because she
Well said.
knows that feeling.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Magdi, what does living heartful mean to you in the middle of deadlines, carpool, and chaos?
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind really is being present, right? Trying to be present, trying to stay calm, trying to silo your responsibilities so that you can be present. So when you're dropping off and your kids are late, you have to try not to think about, okay, these are all the things that are going to pile up as a result,
Right.
because the first thing I think of is, okay, we're running 5 minutes late, which means I'm 5 minutes late to the office. I'm 5 minutes late for this meeting. And it's just a trickle down effect. And you have to just say it is what it is, right? You need to be present, be in the moment. You can't change what's going on at the moment. You can just roll with it. And that's one of the hardest lessons for me because I am a control freak, right? And becoming a parent has really taught me that I'm not.
Oh, how funny.
Yes, right? So I've had to recognize these are the things I can control. these
You
are the
just
things that
blew
I
my
can't
mind
control.
with that comment because I thought I was a control freak, and now I'm realizing with what you just said, maybe I'm not.
You can't be.
Yeah.
You can't
agree.
be.
There's so many things that are just not in your control.
Right. And
Yeah.
you have to accept it or you're going to, like I told my son this week, I was talking to him about control, how you can't control your sister's behavior. Right. So he's, she will look at him and say, "You're not my parent." Because he will
Aw.
remind her to, well, you can't have your hoodie up for school because it's against the school uniform policy, or you can't have this, or you can't have that, or you can't do this. And, and I had a conversation with him and I said, you can only control your thoughts, your actions, how you respond to situations. You cannot control your sister.
I love that.
I know. That's so sweet, though.
And he said,
That's
well, if you do, you're going to lose your marbles constantly. Right? And we've all been there. We've lost our marbles because we can't control a particular situation. But if we kind of, and honestly, I say this, but sometimes I don't practice it. But if we can try and stop for a second and remind ourselves that we don't have control of the situation, right? It allows us to be a little bit more present and maybe a little bit more sane and handle it just with a little bit more finesse, really.
Beautifully said. Would you just
not
ditto it?
after that. Yeah, not after that.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming here today and discussing motherhood and career moms and all things heartful living. Love you guys so much.
Love
Love you
We're
too.
so proud of you, too.
Thank
This is
you.
incredible.
This was definitely not on our bingo card in high
No.
school,
Uh-uh.
right?
High school, college.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Middle school, no.
Well, thank you guys all. Remember to keep it heartful, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.